Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. The Hyde here in collaboration with Delta Team Tactical. They contacted the channel about doing a series of AR-15 component comparison videos. And I was really intrigued by this, and the first one that we're going to start with in this episode is going to be the comparison between your standard Mil-Spec trigger versus that of a drop-in trigger. Now, most of you guys have probably had experience with both, but some of you newcomers have not. So what are the actual advantages of going with that drop-in unit? Of course, there is a little bit more added cost, but with that added cost, you do get some added benefit. Ease of installation is probably going to be the biggest. You simply drop the trigger unit in, install 2 pins, and you're done. Now, with your standard Mil-Spec unit, you've got to drop your trigger in, but you've also got to manipulate your springs and get your trigger springs or pins put in, and then you're off and running. Now, the big probably caveat with this is going to be pull weight. Pull weight in your standard Mil-Spec trigger is not going to be, as a general rule, the same as what you're going to get on a drop-in. Now, in this lower here, this is actually my SBR lower that I run all the time. I have one of the Delta Team Tactical Phantom drop-in 3.5 pound triggers in it. It has been absolutely awesome. Pull weight is extremely light, extremely crisp. Over here on this other lower, I've got just a standard Mil-Spec trigger that came out of a lower parts kit. Functions, reliability is 100%, but it does have that long take up, a little bit of grittiness to it. So if we put these head to head, can we reasonably expect an accuracy or precision increase in going with this drop-in unit? That's usually what guys want to know. If I spend the money, is my rifle going to be more accurate? Well, we're going to take a look at that. This right here is a standard 16-inch upper. It does have the Mercury Precision 5.56 barrel from Delta Team Tactical. We've got one of the Swamp Fox Patriot 4-16 scopes. We're going to be shooting a couple of different loads at 110 yards and just kind of get a rough comparison of the two units and see if there is a dramatic or a needed difference between the two. We're going to get some pull weights on these as far as actually in the rifle. Okay guys, we've got both lowers here on the bench. I've got the upper mated to the lower with the Mil-Spec trigger in it. For just a way of comparison, let's go ahead and get a trigger pull weight on each of these units. That'll give us a good baseline as what we are working with. So let's double check, zero our scale out here, make sure our rifle is clear, which there is no rounds in the chamber, there is no magazine in the gun. And let's get a smooth and steady pull on this. Okay, we're looking at about 6 pounds. Okay, so let's pop this lower off. We'll stick our other one on and we'll get a pull weight on that drop-in unit. All right, we've got our Phantom trigger in this lower here mounted up. So let's go ahead and zero out our scale. We'll double check clear on here just to keep everything kosher. And let's get a pull weight on this by way of comparison. Smooth, steady pull. And right at about 3 pounds. So as you can see, there is a significant difference in pull weight. And one thing I can tell you is that with this here, the drop-in units, they normally do not have much of a take-up. As you can tell, my finger just barely pushed in on the trigger and it broke. If you compare that to the Mil-Spec unit, notice the take-up before the trigger actually breaks. And also the grittiness. So as you can tell, there is a significant difference in just overall shootability between the two. But let's get done talking here. Let's get it mounted on the bench here. We'll get it on some bags and we're going to take some shots at 110 yards and see what kind of accuracy and precision results we can get. All right guys, we've got our lower with our Mil-Spec trigger here mated to our upper. We're going to take 5 shots of 2 different loads here. First one's going to be some 69 grain Federal Gold Medal match with the Sierra Match Kings and some of the Fiocchi 55 grain poly tip. These 2 loads are probably 2 of my most favorite factory 223 rounds. They give really great results, relatively affordable, so it seemed like to be a good backbone 2-hour accuracy precision test here. So we're going to shoot both of these loads at 110 yards. And then we're going to swap our lowers with our drop-in unit, and we're going to shoot it again with that. So you guys can follow along with the target cam, and we'll see what we got here. All right, first shots here. Now, let's try 5 of the Fiocchi 55 grain poly tip. I said I've had really good luck out of this ammo, so I think this will be a great load for this test. So we'll try 5 of these again at 110 with our Mil-Spec unit. Get a comparison of that with our drop-in, shooting these same 2 loads. Again, if you notice, whenever I'm pulling on this trigger, notice the grittiness and the extreme take-up. That's just the nature of the beast with a Mil-Spec. All right. Next up, 5 more shots. All right, that's respectable. It's definitely respectable. So let's swap our upper out on our other lower, and we'll get some test results with that. All right, guys, we're back with our drop-in unit, made it up to our upper receiver here. So we're going to take those same 2 loads, and we're going to shoot the same 5-shot groups at 110 yards, and we'll get our comparison here. We're again going to start off with the Federal Gold Medal match. This is the 69 grain Sierra Match King, again at 110 yards. All right. Going from that heavy, gritty Mil-Spec trigger to this trigger is going to be interesting in the same shooting session, for sure. All right, really respectable that time. You guys following along with the shot camera. So let's try 5 of the 55 grain poly tip Fiocchi. Again, 110 yards. See what we come up with here. All right, 5 in our magazine, and we're hot. And if you notice, keep an eye on my trigger finger. Notice how little it's actually moving as far as going forward and backward. It's considerably less with the drop-in unit. All right, the exception, I believe, of that second shot, we've definitely got some results to check out. Okay, guys, here's our targets. Now, the one here on the left, that is going to be our Mil-Spec lowered unit here. This is shooting the 69 grain Sierra Match King on the left-hand target. Over here is that 55 grain poly-tip Fiocchi. And if you notice, those groups are respectable. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, these triggers are what you would find in pretty much any Mil-Spec lower parts kit. So it's going to come with it, okay? Now, let's go over here. Only thing I can say is, wow. Look at the extreme difference in that Sierra Match King. You've essentially got 3 rounds touching right here. Over here on the 55 grain Fiocchi, I believe I pulled that one there, but still, there's an extreme difference in clustering between the two trigger styles. Now, you just kind of have to ask yourself, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go in your build, and what's going to be acceptable for you? But let's take these two targets back, and we'll get some final thoughts, guys. Okay, guys, so what's the major takeaway between these two units? As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the drop-in unit is going to run you a little bit more money as compared to the Mil-Spec unit. You can drop the Mil-Spec unit in right out of your parts bag and you're good to go. It is advised that if you're going to run a drop-in trigger that you run that with anti-walk pins. Right now, I believe Delta Team Tactical at the time of this video has this trigger with anti-walk pins for $99.99. I have bought one of these with my own money, and it is a heck of a value, guys. As you can see, it even pulls lower than what the advertised weight is, which sometimes that does happen. Now, granted, this is a sample size of 1. This is just for your information. I can tell you that I personally prefer the feel of a drop-in trigger, the repeatability of the shots, the functionality of the overall feel of the trigger is it's just a lot better. But again, it is all what you get used to. Now, if we put into perspective our group diameters between the two triggers, taking a look at the Mil-Spec unit, that 69 grain Match King, honestly, with the Mil-Spec trigger, that's not bad. I'm sure more seasoned shooters could possibly get better than that, but I think for our personal setup that we've shown here, between that and compare that with the drop-in unit over here, it's a no-brainer. It's a win-win. Now, granted, you have to be up to the challenge as well as your barrel, but it definitely gives you kind of a head start. And just the overall feel is just a lot better, guys. Definitely take a look at both of these triggers. You know, get your trigger in, see what you think, but definitely do not turn your nose away from a drop-in unit. It could be one of the easiest and honestly the cheapest upgrades that you could get the biggest benefit from when outfitting your AR-15. So definitely take a look at the online catalog there at Delta Team Tactical. They got all the stuff you guys need ready to ship. Give them a little bit of time. They're kind of swamped with everything going on, but they will definitely get you guys taken care of. But as always, shoot straight. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and tune in next time.